BBC Radio Sheffield, you're with Paulette this afternoon. So Barnsley is playing host to 3 brand new plays by new writers from Britain's East Asian, South Asian and South East Asian communities. Crucially, the stories could only have been made in Britain, and they've been produced after a long search for talent by Red Dragonfly Productions. So the plays are collectively called Taking Flight, and we're going to find out a little bit more about them. I've got 3 guests. So I've got Chandni Lakhani. She's written one of the plays. Sammy Wong has written another of the plays. There are 3 plays in all. And I've got Michelle Yim. She is from the theatre company Red Dragonfly. And Michelle, I think I'm going to start with you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paulette. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. You were born in the East End but raised in the West. Where did the idea for these plays come from then? Was it a reflection of that experience of yours?
Well, actually, I was born in Huddersfield.
Were you?
Yes, I was. Yes, but then I did go back to the East, to Hong Kong. That's where I'm originally from. And then I came back to study drama, actually. And I've just stayed here ever since. I've been in Britain for 17 years now, actually. So,
right, so there's a real mix of cultures in terms of your experience.
Yes, there has been. So it's really interesting, actually, to kind of search for other stories in Britain as well, from the communities themselves, and just to bring that onto the stage. I think it's another brilliant step. So
is it about that then? These plays, are they about merging those 2 experiences that, say, someone like you's had, and sharing that with people to kind of understand this? It's almost a new thing that's been developed here, isn't it?
It is very much so, I think. It's very hard to explain what identity is, but I don't really want to dwell too much on that, because I think ultimately I kind of see myself very British now, even though there has been, I have lived in the East. And I think both of the writers sitting next to me here also feel that way, is that they are ultimately British.
Can I just talk to Sammy for a moment, Michelle? Sammy, you actually have written a play called Ketchup, haven't you? What can we expect from this play then? Is it just about tomato ketchup?
Oh, I wish. I do love ketchup, but no, it's more enough about what food can say about us as our identity and our relationship with food and how we treat it. But it's mostly all about being British and then being Chinese, and being British and Chinese, and using food as a kind of a metaphor or a simple explanation.
And why tomato ketchup then?
It's explained in the play, but I don't really want to give too much away. But there is a kind of the source of ketchup is actually quite Oriental.
All right. And that's all you're going to tell us. You're going to keep a bit from us, Sammy, which is a little bit naughty. I noticed, actually, last night while I was, doing the study and sort of thinking a bit about what I'd ask you, I've noticed that they said that they're going to have these new ketchup containers that are a little bit more slippery on the inside so that the ketchup comes out more easily. Is that something that you cover in your play, Sammy?
I mean, I wish I was that technologically advanced, but I've seen them. They look amazing, and you shouldn't waste ketchup, so it's something I'm on board for. Maybe the next one.
Maybe
ketchup
the next
part
one.
2, yeah.
So who would you like to see your play, and what would you want them to learn from it?
Oh, gosh. I think anyone really who has grown up in England and feels not detached but quite unsure of really what culture they belong to, I feel like this play kind of offers some sort of support towards that sort of general feeling of not knowing.
And what about people who are just born and raised in Britain then? Haven't they got something to learn from this?
Yeah, I think it's always important to learn about other cultures and the people you live in the same country as, and it's also quite an entertaining and comedic play, so there's lots of entertainment values in not just mine but in the other plays that are on as well.
Everyone likes to laugh, Sammy, that is true, especially in Barnsley. So Chandni then, can we talk about Hema and Anjali? What is that about?
Hema and Anjali are the names of the 2 sisters that are the central characters of my play, and really it is just about sisterhood and growing up in the UK. And basically the sort of broad storyline is that Anjali is the older sister, she's getting married, and her younger sister Hema is in those sort of difficult teenage years where you're trying to figure out who you are, and she's sort of struggling with the idea of Anjali moving out of the family home. They've shared a bunk bed throughout their whole emotional sort of childhood. So it's really about, letting go and growing up and loving your sister. So, yeah.
And is that based on your personal experience then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's definitely some stuff in there that is directly taken from real life, which my sister was really thrilled about.
Oh, no mention
No,
of...
not thrilled at all. She was really quite miffed, actually, and
Charming.
demanded a co-writing credit, which I immediately
time
denied.
to get lost,
So...
she's not having it.
No, exactly. But that just sort of shows, I think, the relationship that you'll see between the two sisters on stage is very genuine. So
and no mention of ketchup in your play?
No, there's no mention of ketchup, unfortunately. I'll have to get that in the next time I redraft
you will,
it. Sure.
Definitely. So, Michelle, has it been difficult to find these writers then?
Actually, there has been challenges, but we had a very good amount of submissions, actually, because Red Dragonfly is predominantly a British East Asian company, but then we opened the category up to South Asian and Southeast Asian,
right.
and through that we got a lot of stories, and all actually from a very personal angle as well. So I think our dramaturg had to take responsibility of kind of being sensitive about these stories and kind of developing them for the stage. I would say, sorry, I've kind of lost your question. Could you please repeat that?
Do you know what? We'll have a bit of a break because we could do with one by the sound of it. Michelle, Sammy and Chandni are my guests. They're talking about 3 plays that are going to be in Barnsley, collectively called Taking Flight, and we'll find out a bit more about what we can expect and whether or not all 3 plays are going to go on the same night. I think they are, but connected to Taking Flight then. This is Free and All Right Now. BBC Radio Sheffield. BBC Radio Sheffield, free and all right now. You're listening to Paulette Edwards. I've got 3 guests talking about these 3 new plays that are going to be on in Barnsley very shortly. I have with me Chandni Lakhani. I've got Sammy Wong and Michelle Yim, and she is from the theatre company. The other 2 are writers of 2 of the 3 plays that we're talking about. We haven't talked about the 3rd play yet, Michelle. Can we just have a chat about that?
Yes, certainly. 100% of Nothing is by Joan. And she is originally from Singapore, and it's about her experience of going back to her father's funeral, and it turns out to be quite a farce. After living in Britain for quite a while, she's from Kent now. She lives in Kent with her husband, and this is her experience of going back and her kind of her perception of how kind of Chinese people now views, it's that kind of cultural clash that she has, I think, that she's finding. And that's, it's very interesting because originally we wanted to actually get stories which were family friendly. That was the brief for the competition, that it has to be family friendly, and a funeral and about inheritance things, which felt a bit kind of heavy, but it turned out that actually all these stories are very family orientated, and it is essentially what kind of Asian families are about. It's everything surrounds families, and so there wasn't anything that was kind of very depressing or dreadful. Everything is actually very entertaining and light, and actually sheds new light on kind of Asian culture and British Asian culture, actually.
And is there a sense as well in these plays that there's a lot of similarity between the communities, the races, the different cultures?
Well, yeah, I think one of the great things about the evening was my family, obviously from a very South Asian background, came and saw all 3 plays together, and they really, really identified with the other 2 plays, which was something I not that I wasn't expecting, but I thought it was so wonderful that, they could identify and see our family in Sammy's play and in Joan's play as well, which is fantastic.
That's great. So, Michelle, can we just go back to Red Dragonfly for a moment, your theatre company? You've done other productions in the past that include The Autumn of Han and Diashan, if I've said that right.
Yeah.
The Rise of the Courtesan. And you've got quite a few themes that you like to explore. These are not those. Were those quite traditional sort of Chinese Asian plays?
were. They are taken from Chinese classics, and what we have done, Red Dragonfly Productions, is actually adapted them into English and into a kind of British format for the stage. So it's almost like Shakespeare in a sense, but I mean, not in archaic kind
Why
of
is that
language.
funny?
It's just that I think a lot of people, when we talk about kind of Asian theatre, East Asian, South Asian, Southeast Asian theatre, they think about loud music, some kind of ethnic experience, high-pitched singing, or very, very kind of gesturized kind of dance and stuff.
Costumes and you know what the characters look like.
Yes, but it's actually not like that. What Red Dragonfly production does is actually present British Asian theatre, which means that the stories that we create are in a very British format, so that everyone can enjoy it, not just, you know, if you're from the communities. So.
Would you say then that we still have a need for companies like yours that provide, that bring in a different culture into British culture?
Yeah, I would say so. I think there is a very huge concentration of these theatre companies actually in London, but you don't see them outside of London. So it's going to be our first time performing in Barnsley, so we're very excited to bring it up to the north. Mind you, I am a West Yorkshire theatre company.
Yes,
still.
Yes. Let's talk about Taking Flight then, and why you've used that as you know, sort of the name of these three plays, because they're very different in a sense, aren't they?
Yes, they are, but well, I think it's about kind of bringing, you know, these plays. Taking Flight is about kind of reaching for the sky and kind of going out there, reaching out. And I think that's what that reflects, is that, you know, we need to give these voices a platform. Do
you feel as if things are changing then? If things getting better, are these platforms? Because, you know, we were talking earlier about everybody's talking about Jamie, the new musical that's on at the Crucible, and how diverse the characters were in there, without anyone dwelling on anything. This is just how Britain looks at the moment. Is it good to be dwelling on different cultures, or should we all just start, you know, producing things together because we live together now?
Oh, absolutely. I think we should. But the thing about, I think, British East Asian, South Asian and Southeast Asian communities is that we're a bit quiet. we don't like to kind of put ourselves out there, and that's why it's taken us so long to actually kind of start taking a step onto theatre itself. And actually, it's not our culture. English theatre or British theatre is not part of the East Asian, South Asian and Southeast Asian culture. People don't actually go to see the theatre that often from our communities. So it's taken a while, and therefore I think we just need to just give it a little push, you know, here and there, just to kind of encourage more people to go and see the theatre, and, well, actually to encourage collaborations between other companies as well. So.
Michelle, it's been great talking to you. I'm sure we could talk for another hour about this because there's plenty to talk about. Michelle Yim, Sammy Wong and Chandni Lakhani, thank you very much for joining us on BBC Radio Sheffield. And Taking Flight is on at the Barnsley Civic on Thursday. They're all three on the same night, Michelle, aren't they?
Yes, they are. 3 short stories, only half an hour long each, so it's going to be short and sweet. Come and see the play.
All right, 3 starters almost, but really whole meals, aren't they? Really? Thank you very much, Michelle. Sammy, Chandni, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Shine on BBC One.
These boys have been working so hard for